local Honda superstore for motorcycles, ATVs, side-by-sides, scooters, and generators. CarolinaHonda.com.
Your home of the Gamecocks in the Midlands. 107.5 The Game. Also heard on the Grand Strand at 100.3 The Game. And in the PD at 100.5 The Game in Florence.
All right, and welcome in. It is the Garnet Trust Hour here on your Reaction Monday on the game. Tyler Head, Chris Clark, happy to be welcoming in somebody that was a part of that victory on Saturday night against Furman, 47-21 defensive tackle for the Gamecocks, TJ Sanders. You guys flying in right there at the last second, but glad you made it in, TJ. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning.
No problem, man. Appreciate y'all for having me.
Absolutely.
TJ's first radio, we think, Tyler.
Okay, so we're good at debuts.
Yeah, he's ready to go. This is our first day too, TJ. So no, I'm just kidding. But all right, I'm excited to have TJ in here. We have a lot of ground to cover. I want to look back at recruiting a little bit because I covered your recruiting process. Look at your development as a player. The cool thing about being in season, guys, is we can actually kind of get TJ's perspective on what happened in the game.
Exactly.
A couple nights ago. And then here's another one I'm excited about, TJ. Later in the show, later in the program, we're going to get your starting five from the football team for basketball.
I got you.
I know you're going to be on your own team. I know you'll be on it. TJ is a guy that has been probably one of our most selected guys.
Okay.
Right?
That's true. That's
He's
very
a high
true.
draft pick. A lot of your teammates
You've
have picked
appeared
you.
on a lot of lists from the other guys.
Yep. And I remember your highlights from high school too. So let's look back at recruiting first, and then we'll get into the game. So you came in at a very interesting time in college football because, you were coming off kind of that COVID year, right? So I remember your recruiting was probably in a normal year, maybe not what it would have been, right, as far as offers and everything. So what do you remember about the recruiting process?
I just remember there was a lot of left on the plate. I feel like I could have took way more visits to other schools that were recruiting me. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad I'm here, of course, but just looking back then, a 17-year-old, 16-year-old kid, it just would have been nice to have that experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so remind us of which school, what other schools are in the mix. I feel like I remember Tennessee being in the mix for you.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was in there as far as offers? And
It wasn't really too many SEC schools. It was maybe Tennessee, Vandy. Remember I had NC State, Duke, and a few of those other ACC schools.
What was your history? I remember you were obviously, as we said, a basketball player, but have you played football your whole life, or did you pick it up later? Or
No, I picked it up when I got back to high school. I used to actually play center back in Pee Wee League.
Okay.
But yeah, that wasn't for me. So took my talent to the court, had a little bit of success there, but now I'm making big moves back on the football field.
And then as a freshman in high school, you decided to pick it back up?
No, I ain't pick football back up to my junior
year. That's right.
Wow.
I remember that now. Mm-hmm. And you wanted to play. How did you switch from, okay, I played center in, say, Pee Wee or at Pop Warner, and then you move over to the defensive line? What caused that? What was the reason that you started playing D-line?
Oh, I just told them, if y'all want me to play football, I'm not playing center. That's just straight up what I told them.
Why didn't you like playing center?
I'm not taking hits from
Okay.
a D-lineman.
You like hitting people, not being hit.
I'm not taking licks all game.
Type of hits that you deal out, you don't want those. What were you as a junior? What was height and weight? What were you at?
As a junior, pre-COVID, I was probably 6'5", 255, 265. Oh. Yeah, that's why I was mainly a basketball player, but it wasn't until COVID I gained like 40, 50 pounds.
Wow. Jeez.
What are you right now sitting in here?
About 300, 298.
You don't look 300,
Not
like
at
in
all.
a good way. You know what I mean?
Appreciate you.
Like,
Yeah, it's very athletic 300.
yeah, it's athletic 300. Do you feel like so you put on about 40 pounds, so you were probably, as a recruit then, senior year, you were probably up close and pushing closer to 300, but do you feel like it's a different type of weight now, like you've restructured?
Oh, no, definitely. No, matter of fact, back in high school, I remember it was one point my senior year, I was playing basketball at like 325.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, nah, I'm too big.
Got to drop some weight.
But yeah, it definitely didn't feel how it feels now because I felt like that was all just like not supposed to happen, just unneeded body weight. Yeah, and I had to lose all that.
Now, being an in-state kid, did you grow up a South Carolina fan?
I honestly no.
No.
I never really paid college sports much attention growing up.
Okay.
I never was the kid to grow up and hope for Saturdays so I can watch college football. That was really never me.
Were you an NBA guy?
Yeah, I was definitely an NBA
Who's your
guy.
team and players?
I'm a Bucks fan.
Okay.
Bucks fan.
Giannis.
Okay, because of Giannis. Okay. So that's your
Fair.
guy.
That's fair.
Yeah, I could see a little bit of that in your basketball game. Remembering your highlights, like you were like a passing big man,
Yeah.
and you had a shot, and you could handle the ball. So you got the Giannis elements in there. So again, recruiting was weird at that time because you're in the 2021 class. So that's Beamer coming in, like end of Muschamp era. Beamer coming in, like no visits can happen or anything like that. Did you get to see did you see South Carolina at some point in recruiting before you committed?
Might have been right before Muschamp left. I remember I came out here. He invited me to like it might have been a bowl practice. No, it wasn't a bowl practice. They didn't go to the bowl game that year. It was one of the practices they
Right.
had. And I just remember him inviting me up here. And that was the same time he gave me the scholarship.
And then you committed, you carried it over to Beamer. What do you remember like the first conversation you had with Beamer when he came in or any of his coaches?
Honestly, no. I don't.
Yeah. What were the first days like? You know, being in COVID. So you're a freshman, you're coming into college, so this is a completely new experience for you. Not only, new football team, moving up to the SEC, playing big time college ball, but you're also like you're 18 years old, you're a freshman going to college, and I mean I can't imagine that. I remember when I was a freshman in college, I didn't have football like you guys, but just that experience. Man, it's just a big life change, and y'all had to do it during COVID, right? So that just was that kind of weird, bizarre? Like, what were those days like?
Yeah, just coming to a new scene, like outside of Marion. I never really left where I lived. I think I might have been in Columbia twice for like AAU tournaments or something. But yeah, just coming out of my shell, you know what I'm saying, living somewhere new other than with my mom. It was fun actually, you know what I'm saying. I would call it definitely one of the best experiences of my life.
Well, was there any hesitation when the switch was made from Muschamp to Beamer to maybe look somewhere else as opposed to staying committed to South Carolina?
I mean, maybe if I would have been talking to Carolina like sophomore year or freshman year, but I really didn't really connect with Coach Muschamp as much as I, you know what I'm saying, should have at that time. So when Beamer came, it was just, you know what I'm saying, basically like I just started the experience over with a new head coach, and we kept it rolling from there.
So on the field your freshman year, did you have any? I know Tyler always asks like the welcome to the SEC moment. Like, did you have one of those like in practice or any time where you're like, man, like this is big time football? Like,
well, my freshman year I redshirted, so
Yep.
I ain't see much game action, but I do
Right.
remember going against Javon Gwynn in practice every day. That I remember. I feel like he's part of the reason I'm who I am today. Like he worked me every day to the point I got tired of it. And we started going at it. But yeah, it was times with Gwen, even Vershawn. We had some guy named Rhodey back in the day. It was all just good to see that, this isn't Marion High anymore. It's like, this is big time football.
so what were the biggest? When that switch kind of flipped for you, what were the biggest adjustments that you made? Was it nutrition? Was it work ethic? Like what was it going against Javon and all those guys early that really helped you and made you realize, hey, I got to step it up here a little bit?
I think it was just a mindset thing. Like, nobody's like gonna stop me from achieving what I want to achieve. And it was just like, you know what I'm saying, don't come out here picking and choosing when you want to play. Like every snap, you know what I'm saying, go at it the same, whether it's, a walk through, period 1, period 8, you know what I'm saying. So I just feel like the older guys taught me that, and I just soaked it up like a sponge.
Yep. So I want to ask you about Travian Robertson, your new D-line coach this year coming in. It's kind of unique because he actually played here, was recruited here, played here out of the state of North Carolina, came here, had a really good career, went on to the NFL. But how has it been, learning under Coach Robertson?
It's definitely good having someone with the experience. They've been in the same meeting room you've been in, went to where you're trying to get to. So everything he's saying, you know what I'm saying, you're 110% locked in on it. listening to every little detail. And I feel like it's even the stuff off the field that makes him more of a likable coach.
What is it off the field? Like that he?
It's just like the time, you know what I'm saying? He's always asking y'all trying to come over, or his wife's always doing stuff for us, and it's just things like that. He's just showing us he cares about us, like other than just football. Like
His wife was a big-time track athlete here. Do you know about that?
Yeah, he told me some stories.
Yeah, she might be the best athlete in that family.
And what's it like having a coach that has come through the system at South Carolina for a guy like him that's also gone on to the NFL as well?
Like I said, man, it's huge, man. Like someone who's been there, done that, and just showing me the ropes, you know what I'm saying, trying to teach me more how to be a pro rather than a college athlete right now. So when I get to that level, you know what I'm saying, I'm prepared.
Well, on the here in the next couple minutes, Tyler, I want to go into the Furman game.
Yes.
And see, obviously, TJ had a really good game against Furman. I want to get your thoughts on that. And then, of course, we're going to talk some hoops later as well.
Absolutely. And again, Garnet Trust Hour, today's guest is TJ Sanders, and we'll continue on with that and obviously hit plenty of what happened on Saturday night in the Furman game. My first time in Williams-Brice Stadium, by the way, on Saturday night. So very cool atmosphere. Certainly enjoyed that. Real quickly, I'll ask you, what was your first experience inside Williams-Brice Stadium and your reaction to the atmosphere there?
My first experience or last Saturday?
Your first experience there.
Well, my first experience was against, I want to say, Eastern Illinois 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I think I got out there for maybe 5 snaps, but I just remember when I got out there, I was excited. I was trying not to worry about the crowd, but it's hard not to. It's hard not to and really be.
Absolutely. Again, we'll dive into that Furman game coming up. You're listening to the Garnet Trust Hour here on The Game.
It's Reaction Monday.
Sponsored by Carolina Honda Powerhouse. CarolinaHonda.com.
Your home of the Gamecocks in the Midlands. 107.5 The Game. Also heard on the Grand Strand at 100.3 The Game. And in the PD at 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Don't touch my V-neck sweater.
1 and 2 and a 1, 2, 3.
And welcome back in. It is Reaction Monday. Here in the Garnet Trust Hour, Tyler Head, Chris Clark. Today's special guest, TJ Sanders from Gamecocks football, joining us as we are talking all things about the Furman victory on Saturday night. Victory over Furman, should I say, on Saturday night. TJ, you got a chance to record a sack on Saturday, and, you guys obviously didn't get a chance to get to Drake May the week before against North Carolina. How fulfilling is it to get that first sack of the season?
Like just for the team and myself personally, because last year I actually didn't get my first sack till week 10.
Mm-hmm.
So to get it earlier this season got me feeling good about the rest of the year.
So week 1 to week 2, what are your thoughts on, the defense? Obviously, you're going from playing, Drake May and a Power 5 team and FCS team, but a really good FCS team in Furman. I mean, they came in, I think, ranked number 6 in the FCS, and Coach Beamer, Coach White, Coach Limbo, Coach Loggins, they all talked about how Furman was a very quality opponent. But what did you see defensively? And let's start up front. Week 1 to week 2, do you feel like y'all made some positive strides as far as improving week over week?
I definitely do. I think we all needed that loss week 1 to really propel this team where we're trying to get to. But as far as up front, I feel like we definitely could have played better than what we did week 1. In week 2, I feel like we were more excited to put that on display, all the work we put in from going back to winter, leading up to now. But it's kind of hard when they're chopping us the whole game. That's besides the point.
They were chopping y'all down. They ran that tunnel screen a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That was. Let's go back to week 1 though, seriously, and we don't want to stay on that for a really long time. But what did you see going back and studying film from the North Carolina game? What do you think maybe the issues were? And so I know that Coach White said he felt like sometimes up front, he said this in his press conference after the North Carolina game, I think on last Wednesday, that maybe there were just at times some technique issues. Mm-hmm. What did you see, and what did you see with the staff when y'all look back on week 1?
Definitely what Coach White saying, the technique was definitely something we could have played better with. And I just think it was something we all call week 1 shenanigans, where, things just sometimes they just don't go your way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to happen. One team going to start 1-0, one team going to start 0-1. It always happens like that. It's no middle. we were just unfortunately with the team that had to go 1-1.
Y'all's schedule is very difficult this year, right? Like, you open with North Carolina, you play Clemson at the end of the year. Some teams play, I mean, basically nobody, the first couple weeks, but y'all have North Carolina, you'll have Clemson at the end of the year. Even your FCS opponent is not a week off because, again, it's like a top 10 FCS team, right? And then you have your SEC schedule. You guys are about to go to Georgia. But do you like it better that way? Like, just play like every single week, like no weeks off?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I came to the SEC.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to be playing the best. I didn't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And for them to call it the hardest schedule, I mean, I thought the schedule looked pretty good, honestly.
Okay.
So when you're playing against a team like Furman, we hear a lot of the difference between athletes at the FBS level versus athletes at the FCS level. Down in the trenches, what's the biggest difference you notice going from playing a team like North Carolina to a team like Furman this past weekend?
I definitely feel like the two schemes were different. So like I said, they were just chopping us the whole time. But North Carolina, I feel like they did some things well up front. Nothing that we really couldn't get by. I just feel like you said, it was a lot of technique issues. I feel like we had to see them again later on. We probably it'd be a different outcome. The D-line would probably play well better overall. But you can't look in the past. So I feel like we had a chip on our shoulder and going into the week versus Furman. And the same going to apply this week.
Did you expect to get chopped that much, like against Furman?
I did, but
y'all saw it on film?
Yeah. On film was evident that they were going to chop, but not. This is different when you get in the game.
Right.
You're told to attack. And when they're chopping, it's hard to attack. I'm tell you that.
Is it hard to work on that during practice week, like to simulate being chopped that much?
Like live, yes.
Yeah.
But as far as drills, I feel like we worked it pretty good. Being the drills that we did to prepare for it. But, man, it's nothing like that real game. It's nothing like that.
It's got to be frustrating as a D lineman, right? Because
like
you said, you want to go attack. Like, you want to be man versus man. If he beats you, okay, right? But, like, you get chopped. It's just, man. You haven't played in high school, did you play option teams?
I was just about to ask him about that. Has ever been cut block by an option team?
But, nah, we didn't. They didn't cut in high school. But, yeah, I definitely played a few option teams.
So chopping was kind of new to you when you got here.
I wouldn't say new. I've got chopped before.
Yeah.
But as far as like how I got last Saturday, no, not like that. Not like that.
So it seems like the staff has kind of considered you like a third starter, and you and like Tonka, y'all are versatile, right? Like y'all could play inside, y'all could play outside. Remember in the spring you were playing outside some, but what has been your biggest, I think, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like your biggest growth from freshman year to now in season 3? Now you redshirted year 1, so this year is the most playing time you'll have had, right? Like consistently, like you're kind of like a third starter on the interior for this team. But what has been your biggest growth, you think?
I just feel like recognizing plays and playing faster, like knowing when it's my time to make the play. I felt like last year it was too many plays I left on the table. It was still new to me, and I was still just like working my way around the ropes. But I feel like this year, I wouldn't say I've seen it all. I'm down there close.
You've seen more.
Yeah, I've seen more than I've ever seen. So I just feel like with that experience, my confidence has only grown when it was already at a high point back then. But now just getting the reps in game last year, just sitting there learning and being patient my freshman year got me prepared for this year 3.
When it comes to the defensive line, how important is it to have a solid rotation of guys to be able to, one, give you guys a breather, but two, just have a lot of different types of guys that can go out there and play on that defensive front?
Well, that's definitely important because you never know when someone's going to be needed or like who coach wants in the game. So when another group goes in or another player goes in, you can't have a drop off. So I know people always talk about conditioning, but when you're in them trenches and the bullets flying, it's hard to stay fully energized when you just constantly hitting a guy over and over and over. So the guys behind you or the guys in front of you, the substitutions, they're all important because injuries could happen. You know what I'm saying? You never know what could happen. I'm saying knock on the wood, but it's just important to have those guys ready.
Let me give you a couple of scenarios, put you on the spot. So, okay, would you rather get chopped for like an entire game almost, kind of like the other night, or would you rather play like a high tempo team that's moving the ball? So you're like maybe like Tennessee, right? Like Tennessee would be a good example.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that Tennessee game.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can't do that chop. Because if you stop them, it's not gonna be much tempo. They're only doing tempos if they getting positive gains.
Right, right. And then it becomes a problem.
Yeah,
Very true.
Big problem. I want to get your take on run defense. So this is an area that Coach Beamer, Coach White really harped on. And, we only have a 2-game sample size so far, but do you feel like based on last season and then just 2 games of this year, have y'all made strides in run defense from your perspective?
definitely. I feel like the whole defense, for one, that's bought into it. But the corners are now coming down. You know what I'm saying? No, they know they can tackle. So, I feel like they're trying to make more plays in that aspect rather than just covering. And then our linebackers been playing out of their minds, Stone and Debo. So with them 2 behind me, us up front fitting, I just feel like we can take this thing, higher than it's been the last 2 years.
We'll continue our conversation with TJ Sanders as the Garnet Trust Hour rolls on here on a Reaction Monday on the Game.
What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
On your home of the Gamecocks. In Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
It'd help if I turned my microphone on.
That would.
Anyways, back here on the Garnet Trust Hour, Tyler and Chris along with you. Today's guest, TJ Sanders from Gamecock football, reacting to the victory Saturday night against Furman. And Chris brought this up just before the last break there, talking about run defense. And that was a conversation we've been having all offseason. Clayton White's talked plenty about it, needing to improve when it comes to stopping the run. It's one thing to say it, but what actually goes into being better at stopping the run from a mechanics perspective?
I feel like one of the main things you got to have is that mindset. You got to have the mindset. No team is just going to come in here, Williams-Brice, or when we go to their place, nobody's just going to sit here and just run the ball down our throat the whole game. It's not what we want. It's not what the coaches want. We want to get out there. We want to pass rush. And to get the pass rushing down, you got to stop the run. So I just feel like that's everybody's mindset. And we all know we got to do the better of that.
TJ, you were telling me before the break during the break that your mom's listening. You want to give her a shout out?
Hey, Mom, love you.
Thank you for listening. All right, so we were also talking during the break about some of your teammates. So I want to get your take on them. I always like getting we hear from the coaches on their takes on players. We can kind of make our own assessment, but I like hearing from the guys that you're kind of in the trenches with, so to speak. So we were talking about Jalen Kilgore as a freshman. What have been your thoughts on Jalen? What did you think when you first saw him in practice and everything?
Yeah, my first time seeing Jalen, I thought he was a transfer from another school. I didn't know he was a freshman. So when I find out, I was blown away. He moving like this. He acts mature. He doesn't even act like a freshman. That's why I couldn't tell he was a freshman. But just seeing that, I was excited. This is even before I even saw him play. And when I just seen him play, I was like, yeah, he got that dog with him.
Well, it's kind of like Nick last year. Nick steps in game one, for an injury, and then he just kind of never gave up that job. Now, when Nick is back healthy, I'm sure they'll get Nick back in that mix. But Jalen just stepped right in, and I think he's led the team in tackles both past 2 games. Or he's been up there. Maybe
him and Debo.
Debo had game 2. I think. Yeah. But Jalen's been up there.
Carolina.
Debo had North Carolina too. I think Jalen was second.
I think Jalen had this game. Debo was second, so they've been going at it.
Yeah, they're right.
Speaking of teammates, one of the younger guys on the defensive line, Xavier McLeod, getting the interception on Saturday. How excited was everybody to see that happen?
No, that was crazy because they said at breakfast, I'm going to catch a pick today. We all just looking at Zay like, come on now. It's your first game.
Because a defensive lineman, that doesn't happen a lot.
Exactly. He just sitting here calling it, and it happened. Zay a freak, though. That pick is just the first sighting y'all going to see of the type of things he can do on that football field. When he's locked in.
He kind of stole it from Pup, though. Pup was there.
Nah, yeah, Pup said I wasn't gonna fight him over it. He said he could have it. He said I ain't wanted it to fall on the ground.
Pup
Being a
will
good
get
teammate.
his. I think he'll have plenty.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Pup's another one that doesn't look like a freshman.
Oh no, Pups definitely does not look like a freshman.
Golly. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of guys. Like you look out, and certainly there are a lot of y'all's best players are upperclassmen, right? Guys that have been around you, and then you look at Spence and Xavier Leggett and a bunch of guys. But there's a lot of young talent on this team too. Lenore Sellers.
Dog.
That seems to be the consensus. Everybody, did you probably heard in the stadium when he came in, like what it sounded like.
Yeah,
People were buzzing.
It's crazy because I think everybody was just calming down. You know, Willie B always gonna be loud, but when Lenore's got in, yeah, I think that's what they was waiting on.
It almost you got a couple guys at quarterback now. I mean, your starter is playing extremely well. Like Spencer's been lights out. Heisman? Okay, there you go.
I mean, it's been a good 2 weeks.
His numbers have been crazy. For real, and not to make you feel bad, but if y'all would have won week 1, his name would be up on that list, I think, because of the numbers he's been putting up. They've been pretty crazy. What's been the biggest difference that you've seen in Spencer from last season to this year?
I thought last season, you know what I'm saying, he was just coming in, a lot of expectations on him. I don't really think his mind was as clear as it is now. I think now Spencer knows he's in control of everything. Like Spencer, the way he's playing, it's evident. Like he works, he's there every day, he's always in the building. And it's just the work going to show itself, you know what I'm saying, on Saturdays. And that's just what y'all have been seeing. I've been seeing it all count.
He does look in control. That's a good way to put it.
I was going to say, I just get this sense from watching him and, his press availabilities and just seeing how he is, even in the video that put out from Saturday in the locker room where he got the game ball. He just seems so locked in.
Yes,
like that maybe he wasn't necessarily there a year ago, and maybe having the full year under his belt, going through another spring session, he just seems more locked in than ever before.
Yeah, that's definitely. I feel like that's been the biggest change for Spence. Just more locked in, like you said, and knowing that with him on the field, we can beat anybody.
I know you were talking about how you and Xavier Leggett are from similar areas. He's from Mullins. You're from Marion. He has had a couple weeks that rival anything really any receiver's done here. I mean, he surpassed last year's receiving total in one game. Week 1. He did what he did week 2. He's flying around on special teams. Give us your thoughts on Zay and what he's done so far.
The Xavier Leggett everybody's seen these past 2 weeks is the Xavier Leggett I've seen all of high school. Mm-hmm. He just hasn't been able to show it as consistently on the college level, you know what I'm saying, due to injuries and other factors. But now this is the Xavier you guys are supposed to see.
When you get Xavier away from cameras and microphones, does he say more than 5 words at a time?
No. The Zay y'all get on the microphone is the Zay we get in the locker room.
Doesn't say much. No, he's a crazy athlete, though.
Oh, yeah, he's crazy.
Like, we were hanging out with a couple guys that played D-line here, and they played D-line here, 10 years ago, some sooner than that. And we showed them Zay. They didn't know who he was, and we showed him to him in the indoor facility one day during camp. And they were like, is that defensive end? Like, what position does he play? You know what I mean? Like, they didn't know. We're like, no, that's one of the fastest guys on the team. Oh, yeah. He's done a great job. One thing that Shane Beamer has shown here at South Carolina is that when y'all have had some, ups and downs as far as performance, he seems to have this ability, and obviously y'all get credit as players too, of course, to kind of rally y'all and not give up, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you think about last year's Florida game and then what you did the week right after that and then the week after that. But what was why do you think he's so adept at that? Why is he so good at that, keeping you guys focused and back on track if you have a setback?
Because I feel like most of the time where we've lost games, it's been self-inflicted wounds. Mm-hmm. Coach Beamer always preaches to us, beat us. Like, when we're us, we're hard as hell to beat. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's just the mindset that you guys are hearing, you know what I'm saying, just in more words, more verbally. But the main thing, he always keeps it the same, just beat us. And if we're us, we're going to go out there and we're going to put on the show.
So we talked about this a lot last week leading into the game against Furman. regardless of who the opponent is, going out there and being able to do your job to your best ability. Like I said, you got to sack the offensive line. Played really good on Saturday night and didn't allow any more sacks on Spencer. What does just playing a game like that, regardless of who you're playing, give you confidence going forward where you face a Georgia, Mississippi State, whoever in these next couple weeks, just knowing, hey, I went out there, I did what I was supposed to, regardless of who the opponent is?
I just feel like it's just all about building the right momentum at the right time. Like last year, how we started in the Tennessee game, which is building momentum at the right time, and that leads to another thing, which y'all seen how we finished the year. But just leading off the Furman game, I just feel like we all needed, get in the win column, just know and see who we can actually be this year as a team.
So Georgia's coming up next. Early thoughts. I mean, you guys, you're off today. Like, this is a true off day for you guys, NCAA rules, unless you got to go get treatment or something. So I know y'all are getting healthy, and y'all get right back into practice tomorrow preparing for Georgia. But just early thoughts, early excitement on getting to go play in Athens?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Never really played in Georgia, so it's definitely my first time. Excited for it. I know the team is, but other than that.
Anything that you're really kind of keying in on? Don't give us away any scheme secrets or anything, but anything that you feel like, hey, we got to go to Athens and do this particular thing to give us the best chance of success. Is it stopping the run? Is it affecting the quarterback? Like, is it being a little bit more consistent in a certain area as a defense in total?
Basically, we just got to win up front. The rest will handle itself.
All right. We'll wrap up today's edition of the Garnet Trust Hour with TJ Sanders coming up here on the game.
It's Reaction Monday.
Sponsored by Carolina Honda Powerhouse. CarolinaHonda.com.
Your home of the Gamecocks in the Midlands. 107.5 The Game. Also heard on the Grand Strand at 100.3 The Game. And in the PD at 100.5 The Game in Florence.
And welcome back in is the Garnet Trust Hour here on the game. Tyler Head, Chris Clark, TJ Sanders along with us on this Reaction Monday, a victory Reaction Monday, which we are all certainly pleased about. Now we've gotten to the last segment of the show. I think it's time to ask the question. TJ Sanders, if you are picking a starting five for basketball of you and your teammates, what does your team look like?
Before, so let me dissect this. Okay. I know for one, we got me.
Now, where are you playing? I need that detail.
I'm gonna build my team first, and I'll get to you.
Okay. All right.
He's got a plan.
I'm getting ahead of it. Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I got me, Tonka. I've been hearing about them young guys we got on our team, but I ain't really seen too many of them play. I'm good with what I know. Like, yeah, give me P-Man, Peyton Mangrum.
Okay.
I need two more. Ooh, give me Xavier Leggett.
All right.
Give me a little athlete on my team. And one more. Ooh. Oh, Isaiah Norris.
Oh,
okay.
I don't know if we've heard Isaiah on the team before.
Not
Sleeper
to my
pick.
knowledge.
Yeah, I don't know about Isaiah.
Now, he did deviate from his own position group, which is not something that most people do, or at least his side of the ball.
So, Book, who was it last time that we had on that had like a really strong squad? We thought not as far as D linemen, but like they just had a good squad.
I can't remember.
We've heard
we asked this question a lot.
We've heard several good versions, but no, that's a good team, I think. So Isaiah Norris, what's the scouting report on him? I haven't.
He's an athletic guard.
Okay,
Like,
he can
dunk.
shoot.
He can shoot. He can dunk. He can windmill. I think he's East Bay. No, I don't think I seen him East Bay. I'm probably making that up. But I seen him windmill. I know that for a fact.
And then P. Mangrum, what's the
He's a shooter.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna need spacing for me and Tonk. So we got the shooter.
So Boogie's team that he gave us a while back, it was literally like all D linemen. You were on it, I think.
Yeah, nobody's getting in the paint on that team.
It was like him, you, Nick Barrett.
For real?
Yeah, Nick Barrett out there. Like, just put him in the paint and try to get around him. And I think he did have Tonka on the team too.
I think so.
I mean, it was all big men. It was.
Now that team gonna be good at half court. I don't know about full court.
There you go. See, that's why I like yours. I mean, you almost have like. You have like 5 guys that can play guard, really. You know what I mean? Like y'all can space. Y'all got a couple guys that can play in the paint. I feel like Xavier can play in the paint.
Has Coach Paris ever talked to you about maybe being a dual sport athlete? No,
Not yet.
not yet.
You think you could? What level could you have played at if you were like, I'm playing basketball only? Like, I forget football.
Well, I think I could have played with the best.
Could you? Okay.
Yeah.
Would you have been like a 3-man, 4-man?
Yeah, I've never been 3.
3-man.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Now, did you know? Let me give you a little known fact about one of your coaches, or not one of your coaches, although you know him. So, Coach Lucas says he was a hooper in high school.
Coach Lucas.
Sterling Lucas.
Oh, okay.
Did you know that?
No.
No, he said he was a hooper, but he was only like 6'2" at Orangeburg Wilkinson, where he played.
PG.
Yeah. He was a guard, and then he said he had to figure out that he probably wasn't going to make the NBA, and then so he focused on football.
Sound like me.
He did. You said you could play at the highest level, though.
Nah, I could. I'm talking about in college, though.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That is fair. No, I like your team, though. I mean,
Appreciate it.
that is a good one. Luke Doty did not put himself on his team, and
I think he said he was going to be the coach.
he was going to be the coach. Juice did not put himself on his team. Maybe one other guy, but most players put themselves on their team. So I know you would. You ever seen Spencer Rattler's highlights from high school?
I think
Yeah.
when Spence first got here, I seen some clips of him. Yeah.
He can play.
Yeah, he can shoot.
He can play for sure. He had a pretty good team. He played with what's that guy's name? Who he played for the Warriors? Nico Mannion, I think. Yeah, he played with him in high school. They won a state title,
Okay.
so they're pretty good.
Probably because of Nico. But
Oh, well, you
shots fired.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Well,
you
see,
gave,
defensive linemen aren't supposed to like quarterbacks.
well, he gave Spence some love earlier, though.
That's true.
So that was fine.
That's true.
That was fine. All right, so let's turn it back a little bit toward Georgia, and I know y'all be diving in heavy this week, like scouting Georgia, watching film, all that stuff. But give us your kind of schedule for the week as far as how y'all prepare. I know Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday you've got practice. Today's a pretty tough practice normally, right? Or not today, tomorrow is a pretty tough practice, right? Pretty physical.
I just feel like going throughout the week, just having that mindset, knowing what we got to do this weekend, and just making sure we performing maintenance basically on our bodies. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys beat up. Make sure we're all healthy going into Athens.
What's your kind of individual? You have kind of a routine during the week?
Still figuring it out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's actually been my first season where I'm actually playing.
Playing, yeah.
Yeah, so it's I'm still in the midst of that.
Trying to figure out like what's the best. Are you superstitious at all?
I used to be in high school, but nah.
I mean, you just listen to some music before the game and just go with it that way.
Trust my trainer.
Yeah,
That's all I can do.
but you're trying to figure out the optimal like game week schedule though. Are you like you're going in? You obviously you're doing practice, but you're like watching film alone sometimes and trying to figure out like.
I watch a film alone. After practice, I watch film by myself. I go back up to the building later to watch it with my coach, and then we watch it again the next morning. So I'm getting three film sessions in, correcting my mistakes, or as a group we're correcting our mistakes.
When you go back and like, how do you take? I've always been fascinated by this. So how do you take something that you see? So let's say you're watching back Furman tape, and you see, okay, technically, maybe it's something you noticed, maybe it's something that Coach Robertson notices, like, hey, technically you were a little off here. Obviously, you can see that and say, okay, I know what I did, but how do you take that to the Georgia game? You know what I'm saying? Like, and translate it to
fix it.
Yeah, how do you fix it on the field? What's the process for that?
Okay, take it to play where I might have been a 3 to the right, and I got a zone scheme coming to me, so I got to play a reach block. Let's say I get reached on that play. We come in, we watch it. Coach like, okay, here's why you got reached. I'm gonna listen to him. I'm already gonna watch film on myself before he even tell me what I did wrong.
Right.
So most of the time, I'm already gonna know what I need to fix. So when he's telling me again, it's like, okay, now you really need to double down on it. So it might just be something as simple as you took a wrong step, or you shot your hands late, or you're looking in the backfield. Like, it's just not that many things that you can really clean up, and it should be just the one small thing that'll take you out of the play. So I feel like once we know what we got to clean up, it makes it that much easier to clean it up.
one thing is we let you go here. What's one thing that people need to know about this team for this year? Obviously, you look to improve, this being Beamer's third year, to improve on what you did last year. What do people need to know about this team for this year?
I just think people need to relax after one loss, and we're going to be us. Just trust that we're going to be us.
I think that's pretty fair. We'll get out of here in just a second, but again, thank you so much for taking some time with us this morning. Obviously, it's your one day off this week. We know you could probably be doing a lot of things. We certainly thank you for hanging out with us, and certainly wish you and your teammates the best of luck. It's going to be tough this weekend against Georgia, but we have the utmost confidence in you guys, and best of luck the rest of the season as well.
Appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That'll do it for today's edition of the Garnet Trust Hour. Coming up next, the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs here on the Game.